Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we've got a different view here today. I asked you guys a few videos back if you would be interested in a video where I do my nails. You guys seem to be really into the idea, so I sat down today to film this for you guys. I've already done one hand off camera. I'm right-handed, and I always start by doing my dominant hand with my non-dominant hand because I figure if I mess this one up a little bit, it's always easier to go back and match this hand up with this hand, if that makes sense. So again, I've already done this hand off camera. I figured I wanted to kind of play around with some colors, see what I really wanted to do, and then it would be easier to film doing this hand. So I am going to start where I always do by removing my old nail polish. And obviously when you're removing gel polish, and for me, even when I remove regular nail polish, I always use straight up acetone. It's just easier. It gets the job done so much faster. I recently discovered these cotton pads that I got at Sally Beauty. They are like a thicker cotton pad, and what's really cool about these is on one side of them they actually have this little pullback little plastic almost like a handle. This is really meant for people that do nails so that they can remove nail polish off of clients without fucking up their own nail polish. And since I don't want to ruin these nails, I'm going to go ahead and use this today. These are really thick. They're not like your traditional cotton pads that only get like one or two nails out of them before you have to move on to a second or a third or a fourth pad. You can pretty much remove an entire hand of nail polish with just one of these cotton pads. Now, since this polish does have glitter in it, I usually go in with a second pad just to make sure that I've removed all the glitter remnants, especially down into the cuticles where it really wants to stay down in that crevice there. But I like to hold the cotton pad on my nail really firmly, pressing down so that it really just kind of easily removes that nail polish once you go to swipe it off. But I'll usually hold this on my nail for a good like 30-45 seconds, even up to a minute. And it just makes it so much easier when you go to slide off the cotton pad. It pretty much will remove most of the nail polish for you in one swipe. And then I like to pull the cotton pad straight off the edge of the nail this way. So that way I am not rubbing any nail polish into the skin around my nail. You know what I mean? And again, I'll have a little bit of glitter left on my finger there, but after I get all of the rest of the polish off of these nails, then I can go in with a second cotton pad and just kind of make sure that everything's really cleaned up. Okay, so then I went and washed my hands. There's still definitely some glitter around the edges near my cuticles, but no worries. We are gonna get all of that shit off of there before we get them painted. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to trim my nails down. Now, my nails grow super fucking fast, and this is crazy long for them. I just did a manicure a week ago, and I typically take my free edge down to nothing, and that's how much we've grown in 7 days. But when I'm wearing gel polish, you almost have to leave them just a tiny bit longer because you need to be able to wrap the edge of the nail there. And if you have taken that free edge completely off, it just gets really messy underneath the tips of the nails. And so since I'm doing gel polish, I am leaving these just a touch longer today. But I'm just going to start with good old-fashioned nail clippers. I am going to snip most of that free edge down and get rid of that. Anything that looks like it might have a little bit of like a sharper edge or a corner on it, I'll go ahead and cut that off too. And then using like a medium coarse file and just kind of shaping the nails exactly how I want them. I like to take the file and go right down along the very edge here Just kind of straight up and down, and then kind of curve that around. And I'm not really sure what you would call this shape. Just kind of a regular, not square, not round, kind of dude fingernail shape, I guess. And again, right along the side of that nail there, take off that kind of abrupt, sharp, pointy edge. And again, I do hair for a living, and so I just want my nails to be like a manageable length. I don't want them to be so long that when I'm shampooing somebody's hair, they can feel my fingernails on their scalp. Because to me, that would be just kind of gross. You know, I thought doing makeup on camera was kind of awkward, but doing your nails on camera is even worse because you have to have your nails positioned so that the audience can see what you're doing. And in doing that, it's harder for me to really get a look at what I'm doing here, but it'll probably just take a little bit longer than normal. And that's about how I like them lengthwise and shape-wise. So now we are gonna go in and we're really gonna start to clean up. So this is just a metal cuticle pusher, and it's got like the little sharp kind of blade on the other end. You want to be really careful with that, but I like to really get in there, really scrape off all of that dead skin, especially if you're using gel polish, because if there's any kind of like weird, loose, flaky skin, any kind of cuticle hanging over that nail, if you paint over top of that with gel polish, it's just gonna lift up right there. You have to make sure that everything is super clean for gel polish. And I've definitely been known to be anal about this step to the point of going in and cutting my cuticles until I'm bleeding. I've definitely started to back off on that a little bit. So like, you know, some of this skin that I'm kind of loosening up here, if that needs cut away, I'll go ahead and I'll cut that off. Definitely make sure that you've got like that little kind of flaky skin right there, just kind of pushed away from the nail. Get all that shit off of there. There's a little bit of that extra nail polish on this side of the nail, so we'll scrape that away. Any of that glitter that didn't come off, you know. And sorry about my voice today. My allergies are kind of acting up. Well, it's because I forgot to take my allergy pill for like 3 days in a row. So, you know, that's not going to help things if you don't remember to take it. And here I am, just all kind of stuffed up in the nose, waiting for this pill to kick in. The throat isn't as scratchy as it usually is with the allergy shit, but the nose is definitely a little stuffy today. All right, so now I'm going in with the cuticle nippers and making sure I just have any of that other weird little, I call them barnacles, just like shit that's hanging off of there that you need to get rid of. And just be careful if you're using cuticle nippers, because it is easy to get really carried away. And then before you know it, you're bleeding all over the place, and then your nails are sore for a couple of days. It's like you've got this great color on your nails, but if you really look at your cuticles, they're like bright glowing red and they're sore, you know what I mean? So just be really careful about what you're taking off, but also make sure that you're getting all of that weird shit off the edges there, because again, you don't want to give the gel anything to cling to except for the actual nail bed. I just want to make sure that everything is super clean. That way it looks good for as long as possible without any kind of maintenance, you know? This one's not bad, but I do have a little bit of that extra kind of dry skin along the very edge of the cuticle there. Get that stuff off of there. And then very gently going in with a buffer block, starting right there along the edge, right there by the cuticles where I was just cleaning up, just to make sure any kind of weird texture, lumpiness, bumpiness, patchy, flaky skin is filed off of those areas. And also, when you're doing a gel manicure, you want to make sure that you do kind of rough up the top of your nails a tiny bit. I think one of these kind of files is perfect for that because you take away the shine, but you're not actually like filing down into the nail and thinning it out or anything like that. You basically just kind of want to take away the surface shine so that the gel polish sticks better. Again, I do all of these steps whether I'm doing gel polish or regular nail polish. I feel like all of this helps regular nail polish to last a long time as well. So definitely make sure that you're spending the time on nail prep before you go in with your nail polish, because it'll just make everything look a lot better for a lot longer. Thank you, Booker. He agrees. So now I am going to wash my hands yet again, and then we can take a closer look and make sure that everything is really clean and ready to go. All right, so we are clean, we are dry, and now when I really start to look, I can see a few little spots like right there. That needs to go. There's probably a little bit of skin just right there in the corner that, you know, I'm just being really nitpicky, but that is who I am. So let's go ahead and take care of those few little things really quick. And then for leftover stuff like that or any kind of debris that might be underneath the nail, I'm taking, this is a pretty smooth file. It's just enough to kind of clean up that stuff underneath the nail, because if any of that stuff was still underneath there when you went to paint your nail polish on, it's gonna grab onto that weird shit, and then it's just gonna create weird shit there that you're gonna have to cut off later anyway. So again, I want everything to be super, super clean before I ever go in with any nail polish. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use a nail dehydrator. This is like the prep work you would do before you went in and applied acrylic to your nails. But I find that dehydrating the nails and then priming the nails really helps to make sure that either regular or gel polish lasts a long time on the fingers. So I'm just applying the dehydrator with a little eyeshadow blending brush and let that go ahead and dry for a second. And then I'm going to use this acid-free primer, which it comes with its own brush inside. I wish that the nail dehydrator came that way, but it does not. It's no big deal. I have plenty of brushes. And then up next, I'm going to use this chip-free bonder. Now, the instructions that came with this said to only use it on the very tips of the nails, which is what I always do. But I have found that when I am removing my gel polish at the end of like 2 weeks or whatever, that the very tips of the nails where I've painted this is where it takes the longest to take the polish off. So I wonder if I painted the entire nail with it, if it would keep everything on the entire nail that much longer. But since I didn't already do that to this hand, I'm not gonna do it to this hand either. And now for polish, I am using the ASP brand. Now, I like to really clean off my brush. I do a lot of layers, but if I can keep them a little bit on the thinner side for each layer, then I find that the polish doesn't get as thick looking. And I do so many layers of polish that by the time that I'm done, it's gonna look thick anyway. So if I can start off with as thin of layers as possible, then things definitely look better. Now, you really wanna make sure that you're careful around your cuticles, because if any of the layers of polish end up on your cuticle, what's gonna happen is it's gonna create like a weird little lip there, and it's gonna be more likely to peel a lot faster. So just be really, really careful when you're applying any of the layers of your gel polish. And you have plenty of time to play when you're applying gel polish because this stuff is not going to dry until you cure it. So you can really work at your own pace. You can work a lot slower. And you definitely want to cap the edge here with every layer. So I'm gonna flash cure this really quick, just for a few seconds to make sure that the polish isn't kind of like sliding and moving around at all. But again, just a quick flash cure there, and then we can move on to the next nail. Now, I take a long time to do fucking everything, and doing my nails is no exception. This is one of the longest things it takes me to do. Yeah, flash curing in between each nail does just add a little bit of extra time there. But again, when you see what happens with the first layer of color, you'll understand it doesn't just happen with the color polishes, it happens with the base as well. And then flash cure this one. So there are LED lamps and there are UV lamps. I'm not sure what's so different about both technologies when it comes to curing gel polish. The one that I have is an LED lamp. It's the Finger Paints brand, and I picked this up at Sally Beauty Supply. I got like an entire kit, and I've had most of these products for probably about 3 or 4 years now, and I'm still using a lot of them actually. It seems like gel polish never really goes bad the same way that regular nail polish does, but this one's really small, so you can't really fit like your entire hand. But I tend to do like these 4 fingers at once, and then I do my thumbs separately. Now this lamp runs for 30 seconds and then it has an auto shut off. Some of the polishes need a 30-second cure, some of them need 2 minutes. So I typically will just do 2 minutes for every single layer that I do. So I usually end up pushing this button 4 times to cure every single layer. Again, it takes me a long time to do a gel manicure, but it tends to last a long time. So what I'm doing seems to be working. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so the base is on, the base is cured, and now we can go into some color. So this is a shade from ASP, and this is in the shade Brown Sugar. This is one of my favorite nail polishes because it's just like this nice, rich, I don't even know how to describe it, almost like a pumpkin spice kind of color. It almost has like a pinky kind of base to it, and then it has this really intense like copper pumpkin-y kind of toned shimmer. Again, I don't even know how to describe it. You're just gonna have to see it applied. So again, very thin coats. You want to make sure that you've got a lot of that excess off of your brush there, and just a little bit on the tip of that brush. Again, you want to be really careful around your cuticle area, but what happens is you get the polish on there, and again, you have as much time as you need to, so take your time getting this on here. But what's gonna happen is the polish is gonna kind of pull away from the edges and leave almost like a weird, like diffused edge near your cuticles. I don't know why this happens, but it happens with every gel polish from every brand that I've ever used. And so not only does it do this with your colored polishes, but it also does this with your base coat and with your top coat, which is why I will do a flash cure so that those layers just kind of stay in place a little bit better. I mean, do you see what that's doing over there? It's definitely just pulling away from the edge there. Any of that extra polish that kind of oozes out along the edges, you want to make sure that you get that and that you remove that before you cure the polish, because once it's cured, where it is where it is. You're not getting it off without soaking it off. But see, before I cure it, can you see what I mean? If you look over here, it's just, again, it's a little bit more diffused along that edge there, which is just kind of weird. And another flash cure, again, this will just kind of help to keep things in place. And then you can move on to your next finger and your next finger and your next finger. And then the next layer of color tends to do a little bit better. Okay, so that is the first layer of color cured, and if you really look, you can see where kind of everything along the edges has just kind of faded out a little bit, and we have more concentration of that color kind of right down the middle, like it almost kind of pulls itself toward the middle of the nail. So I'm going to start with the second coat here, but the outside of my pinky nails right there never really wants to take gel polish. Even after everything is cured, even after I have my top coat on and all of that, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this right here. Hopefully I'll be able to kind of turn up the brightness and you'll be able to see what I see right there, but it just didn't quite take. And it never does. It's always that spot on both of my pinky nails, so. Okay, so before I cure this polish, I'm gonna lay down a tissue there, and I am going to open up my glitter. Again, this is Mexican Lucky size 3 from Lit Cosmetics. I'm gonna take this fluffy eyeshadow brush, and I'm just going to sprinkle that glitter right over that sticky polish. And then cure. Okay, so I knew that I wanted to play around with some multichromes for this, specifically the loose pigment from JD Glow Cosmetics in the shade Urgent, because this one is kind of like that pinky but golden yellow shift. And then also Money Moves, which is a pressed multichrome eyeshadow, and I wanted to see how that would work with gel polish. Now, a few years ago, I picked up this holographic powder. I picked this up on Amazon for maybe $3 or $4. And this is like a silver holographic powder that you basically take and you buff it over top of a non-wipe top coat. Any of the top coats that leave behind that sticky layer, it's not gonna work with. You need to use a no wipe top coat. So I figured I would just go ahead and take the same approach with these today. And that's what I did on this hand. Now, before I get into painting this one, I just want to kind of go in and show you guys a little bit up close. So with the holographic powder that was specifically for nail art, it's really smooth, it's really shiny, it doesn't get bunchy, it doesn't get weird or anything like that. What I did notice using both the loose and the pressed versions of these multichromes from JD Glow is that once I put the top coat on and I cured that in the lamp, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, it almost got a little bit bunchy or a little bit swirly. It's not quite as even as it looks when you first buff it on, which I'll show you to compare once I buff some of it in on this hand, and I'll compare the two side by side. Once I cured this with the top coat, this one's Urgent, this is a loose multichrome, and so again, it just kind of got a little bit weird there. Maybe not quite as weird on the pinky finger. This is Money Moves on its own, and so again, not as bad, but still it's got just a little bit of texture to it. It's not like fully just smooth. It definitely has some like, it's not lumpy and bumpy to feel, but it looks like it would be lumpy and bumpy. Does that make sense? Now on this finger here, I actually mixed the two shades. I mixed both Money Moves and Urgent on one of those, sponge tip applicators. And when I buffed it in, this one got crazy textured. So what I ended up doing to kind of hide that a little bit is I sprinkled a little bit of glitter over top. top in more of like a holographic kind of shade, just to kind of conceal that lumpiness and that weirdness a little bit, which again, I mean, to look at it from the side, it's definitely very smooth. But when these pigments are cured underneath a lamp, they definitely kind of move around a little bit. So again, I had never used these before. This is definitely trial and error. I'm sure that the same thing is going to happen over here on this hand. But I mean, just to look at them, they look really cool. I mean, you wouldn't really be able to notice any of that right off the bat until you really get in there and start looking. But that's how that hand looks right now. Again, I am going to go in and make a few adjustments here when we're done. But just to let you know, this is how I'm using things, and this is kind of what happened on that hand. So the no wipe top coat that I have, the brand is One Door. I don't know if they're even like a real brand. I found this on Amazon for like a couple of bucks. I've had it for a few years. Overall, it seems to work pretty well. It lasts a long time. So I just need a tiny little bit of this on my brush. Bitsy, what you doing? You helping? I don't know that you're helping all that much. Right along that edge on that side of my pinky nail, on both of them, it always ends up being bald. Go ahead and flash cure that. Basically what I'm going to do is I am going to top coat and cure all 5 of these nails, and then we will be back to start playing around with the multi-chrome pigments. Okay, so then for the multi-chrome powder, I think I'm gonna start with Money Moves. I fucking love this color. It is great on the eyes. Apparently it looks really cool on the nails too. Again, I'm not sure if this is really supposed to be used with nail polish, but we'll see how long it lasts, you know? So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that on this little sponge tip eyeshadow applicator. I wanna put that right on my middle finger, and you're just gonna buff it right on to the nail. Now, I think it's important to use a powder like this on top of a no wipe top coat because again, it doesn't have that sticky layer there, but it has just enough tack to it still that it is gripping and adhering that product right onto that nail polish that you've put down. So after I get this completely buffed in, completely blended, really smooth, I want to compare this nail to the same shade on the other hand, just so you can see how it cured under the lamp with the top coat on it. And I think it just, right here, it's so shiny, it's so like perfectly smooth. But if you look at it compared to when it's top coated and cured, it definitely loses some of the intensity of that metallic finish. And it also, again, it looks smoother over here, and it just looks a little bit warped and a little bit wobbly over here on this finger. So, but that is the straight up multi-chrome. And then that is how everything is cured after with a top coat. So then I'm going to put that to the side for a minute, and I am going to use Urgent. And again, this is that pinky, orangey, kind of golden shift. And I've got a specified brush for that. So let's take some on that applicator. And yeah, let's see. And we'll go ahead and put that down right here on the ring finger. And the same thing, just kind of buffing that in. Now see, with the holographic powder that I have that I picked up on Amazon, when you put a top coat on top of that one, it actually intensifies the shimmer and it intensifies the chrome finish of the powder that you've buffed in. But again, with these, it definitely gets dulled down a little bit. So I don't know what the difference is between these and the holographic one. I don't know if there are different binders in it that make it perform better on your eyes and on your face, where the holographic one, I would imagine, is formulated specifically for nail art because that's what I bought it for. I'm not sure, but yeah, so if you look at, yeah, so then putting those two side by side, now again, that's the exact same shimmer, it's the exact same pigment, but the multi-chrome shift you see a lot more on this finger before it's been capped and cured, where it just definitely loses some of that effect over here. And on this finger, I did a combination between these two colors. It's probably not my favorite outcome because, again, I feel like this one ended up being the most kind of like warped and the most kind of like lumpy looking. But since I did that color on this hand, I want to go ahead and do it on this hand as well. So I think I'll just go ahead and do that on the pinky, so that I'm not tainting this little pot of multi-chrome powder. I kind of dumped some of that out. I have a specified brush for the mixture shade. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of Money Moves and then dip it into Urgent that I have here on my paper towel. Kind of work them both evenly into my little sponge tip here. And then go ahead and buff that one in over here. And this kind of ended up making this really interesting, I don't know, like a rose gold kind of tone that has that green shift to it from the Money Moves shade. But yeah, this one is, it's a really pretty color, actually. It turned out really nice. Again, I just wish that I was able to keep the intensity of that chrome effect going once I have everything top coated, but that's not the way it worked out today. And again, since for some reason the mixture of these two colors on this hand created so much kind of like weird wobbly texture on the nail, that's why I went in and just kind of threw some glitter on top of it over here to kind of conceal that a little bit. But we'll see what ends up happening on this hand. And then I think I'm going to go ahead and do Money Moves on the thumb over here too. I don't know. I just really like this shade, so I want to see more of it on my hands. Buff it in. Okay, so that's where that hand is at now. That looks so fucking rad. And again, to compare, not top coated and cured, and then top coated and cured. That's how different things look there. But I'm going to go ahead and top coat all of these. I'm using the ASP top coat. So again, we'll get this on, we'll get these cured, and then we will come back and see where we need to go from there. So now to take a look and compare, I would say that they pretty much did the same thing. Maybe a little bit less kind of wobbly on the left hand than on the right hand. This shade here, which is a mixture of the two multi-chromes, it didn't get nearly as crazy on this hand as it did on this one. But I think that since I put that glitter on that shade on this hand, I am going to go ahead and do the same thing over here, which what I did is I took another just very, very thin layer of top coat, and I will, no, that's kind of a mess. mess. So we'll go ahead and get another very thin layer of top coat onto this nail so that the glitter sticks to it really well. It looks like I might have gotten a little carried away with that top coat right down in here. Now, I know this looks like a mess, but it does clean up off the skin really easily, so I'm not worried about it right now. Let me close up this top coat. So for this shade, I actually used Rich and Famous size 3. This is also by Lit Cosmetics, and this is kind of a rose gold glitter that has a rainbow reflect to it. And since this combination of these multi-chromes kind of ended up being a rose gold, this seemed like a pretty good match. So I'm going to cure that again. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give everything one more top coat. I'm gonna wash my hands, clean everything up, and then I will come back and we're gonna get really close in and really inspect what I think are a few little trouble areas that might not be a big deal to most people, but for me, I really wanna get in there and really show you guys everything that's going on here. So let me go ahead and give everything one more top coat, clean everything up, and we'll be right back. All right, so now everything is sealed in, everything is cleaned up, we're looking pretty good, and if you were a normal person, then you would probably be fine right here. Go ahead, live your life. For the next 2 weeks, you'll have some pretty rad fingernails. But for me, being the maniac that I am, the closer that I get in and the closer that I look, and hopefully you'll be able to see some of this, when I get really close to that tip there, some of that multi-chrome has already kind of worn off around the edges there. If I get in, where else did I see a spot? Right there, really close to the cuticle, I can see where that nail polish color that I laid down first is kind of peeking through there a little bit, like it almost didn't get sealed in as well. Overall, for the most part, we're doing okay. I think that I might see a little bit of that just along the very edge of that nail right there. Definitely along the very edge of this one here. Just a few areas that I personally would want to touch up. So basically what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this little teeny eyeliner brush. This is a Sigma E05 eyeliner. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take just a little bit of that no wipe top coat just on the tip of this brush. And I'm just gonna paint right there on those little areas that are kind of bothering me. And basically just anywhere along the edge that just looks a little bit wonky. And we'll go ahead and give that another cure. So then one more quick buff of that multi-chrome powder just on those weird little spots that I found. I'm gonna give them another top coat and another cure, and then we can take a look and see how everything looks completely finished. I kind of fucked things up a little bit, and I'm going to show you where. So what happened is I went in and I kind of touched up the edges around some of this stuff here with the no wipe top coat. I cured that, and then I buffed in the multi-chrome eyeshadow around that area there. And then once I cured that and I could see a little bit of a ridge around the outside of it, I thought I would really quickly swipe over some more of that top coat, rub some more of that powder on top of the middle here, and it just ended up way too kind of fucked up. You see what I'm talking about there? It's not smooth. It's really uneven. And the same thing did happen just a little bit on this nail right here. It's not nearly as bad. And realistically, in real life, if anybody saw my nails, you know, just moving around like normally, you wouldn't even see that. But that's just something that bothers the fuck out of me. So it happened on this nail too, and I ended up putting a glitter top coat on top of that, but I'm just not really happy with the way that this came out. That nail looks kind of fucked up. This nail looks kind of fucked up, but it is what it is. I tried something different today, and I just happened to try something different on a day when I was filming. So what I'm gonna do, I'm done with this for today. I've been dicking around with my nails for probably about 7 hours now. It took a long time to do this. And again, I'm just kind of sick of looking at it right now. But tomorrow I am going to remove these 3 and start over and go ahead and insert some footage of what that ended up looking like once I fixed those 3 nails. Okay guys, it is the next day and I have gone ahead and I fixed up, which nails were they? This one, and this one. So these 3 here. I redid the Money Moves multi-chrome on both of these nails, and I'm much happier with the way that it turned out the second time around. Although I do have a little bit of, and this is me just being like super nitpicky, but like along the very tip there's an area where the multi-chrome didn't quite want to stick. Maybe a little bit on this one as well, like right there. It's a little maybe faded along that bottom edge there next to the cuticle. But again, that's shit that nobody's ever gonna pay any attention to or see. That's just me being super nitpicky. And then with this nail that I had put all that glitter on, what I ended up doing is I just used the brown sugar polish and I just left it alone. This is that color on its own. I figured with the other colors that I have here, it just made sense to leave one of those nails the original color without putting anything over top of it. But overall, I'm really happy with the way that everything turned out. I mean, again, from a distance, this looked really great. If you get, you know, super up close and really start to dissect stuff, I mean, you're gonna see some of that wobbliness of, you know, that thumb there, which again, it's like nice and smooth. It's just that it's almost like the multi-chrome kind of like shifted and moved while it was curing. So who knows what's going on with that. Have you guys tried any multi-chrome powders that are meant for the nails versus using them that are more like eyeshadow quality? Again, I was just kind of using what I had and I've never done this before, so I thought I would try it out. I think it's pretty decent for a first try, but I hope you guys like this kind of video. Something definitely a little bit different from my usual content. Just trying to switch things up here a little bit. Let me know what you guys thought down in the comments. Make sure to follow me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.